Good morning, gardening friends. I'm Lark, and I'm in Wisconsin, Zone 5. I'd like to take you on a walk through my perennial garden. Oh, that's my black widow spider. My husband's old bowling ball. I told you I like whimsy in the garden. Yesterday I deadheaded. Used to do it every day, not anymore. Daylilies are starting to bloom in the garden, and I like this one here, a little Asian looking spider-like. I now, when I deadhead, I chop and drop, or deadhead and drop, and I put the debris in the garden. It's not real noticeable unless you're looking for it, but I hope it feeds the soil too. Plus it keeps me from having to go down to the compost pile. And I am putting more grass clippings in this area where we have to limb up our blue spruces. I like sea holly for its texture. Now there's a couple different kinds. I wish I would have got the one that has a bigger cone on it, but I didn't, and I'm not buying any more perennials, so this is it. But it's pretty. It adds that blue for a long time because even when it dries, it still stays a steel blue. And then at the end it gets a brown and seed head. This is a tiny one. That foliage plant is a euphorbia called chocolate. It stays dark while it's early in the season and then gets more green as the season goes on with a white flower. But I like the burgundy foliage. Oh, the hummingbird. I see the hummingbird on the trumpet vine. Oh, he's floating around there. I'm sorry, I'm jerking him. Maybe I'll catch him when I walk back there. I have a trumpet vine tree. I trained into a tree back there. I'll show you in a second. Oh, I don't see him now. I had to stake the tree because the umbrella, that was a patio umbrella, I thought it was aluminum and it rusted, so it broke and we had to bend it back up and use a steel pipe. I know it's aggressive, but I like that look of being different and having a trumpet vine tree. Lilies in a lot of shade. It'll get afternoon sun. And they have a tendency to flop, so I use that twig method I talked about. these are off the spruce, to support them so they don't flop in the path. Oh boy, there's wind today. With this new camera, I don't know if it maybe blocks it out a little. The phlox is in full bloom in the garden now and in the wild area. And a super fragrance, because I have quite a bit of it. Tiger lilies, just starting. Common tick seed, but oh, so hardy, so drought tolerant. Would you believe in the first years of gardening I didn't care for daylilies because they only bloom a day? Now I love them. Oh, I think the Japanese beetle found my hibiscus. It will be part of my daily tour now. Can you see him on there? That one's Copper King, which died back a lot. But at least it came back. Balloon flower. Of course, the blue in the garden. It's a coral bell that needs to be moved because it's in too much sun. I think it's called Caramel. Very pretty, but it's stunted because this is bone dry here on the edge of the garden and sun. So I should be moving it into an area that'll get less sun and maybe a nicer soil. That would be good of me. See that blue dragonfly? Maybe not. I can't tell looking in this screen here. It's so dark. Pretty blue dragonfly. I asked it to show up for this video. I don't think you can have a cottage garden without purple coneflowers, can you? Joe Pye, called Gateway, starting to set flower. Whoops, it's the grassist, Carol Forrester. It'll be blooming fully probably in about a week, and I'll get a picture of that. Big plumes, butterflies love it. Smoke bush. I think that smoke bush is called Purple Emperor. And no, I don't let it mature. I don't let it get into a tree. It usually doesn't get smoke on it. I just like the foliage. Cimicifuga Hillside Black Beauty, setting its flower. It'll probably reach about 4 foot, this plant, and fragrant, 4 to 5 feet. Really a slow grower, but I like the burgundy foliage, especially in the shade. This is mostly shade back here. Now the lady's mantle is past its prime. I will be cutting it back, and you can see new growth down in the center. Right there. Here. I will cut all this off and just leave the new growth. And then this whole area will fill in with nice foliage again. So one day I'll just park myself down here and clip my little heart out, and the lady's mantle will look good again. Sweet Cicely, nice herb, licorice tasting and smelling. This is the seeds. I take them and I toss them. Pretty fern-like foliage. Can you see that? Lady's mantle's in the way here. Whoa, pretty foliage. Meadow rue is another nice shade perennial. I like this one here because of the purple stem. Kind of coordinates with that Cimicifuga Hillside Black Beauty. And again, I let that reseed all over if it wants. It's a beautiful day. It's probably about 79. And of course you can hear the wind, so it's breezy out. My ferns haven't started to dry up yet. Sometimes they do at this time of the year, but we've had enough continual rain. Down in the wetland area, the ferns continue, but then I have what is that? The rocket. Ligularia, the yellow flower. Pretty leaves, nice flower. Pretty leaves, the slugs like it too, but a nice shape to the leaf. That one's called the rocket. Jewelweed. I'll show it to you later when it's in flower. It'll be an orange flower. Really, it's an herb also, but crazy. It goes crazy. Boy, did that tree fall good? Right on next to the path. Perfect. Foam flower. Pretty foliage again after the flower's gone. So a lot of this I look for when I look for a plant is the foliage too. See the little darker center? Makes a dense ground cover. Lungwort with a Japanese painted fern. Some type of sedge. I forget the name of it. Sorry. But it is a variegated. Looks mostly golden when you look at it far away, but it is variegated. This is another ligularia called the rocket. Pretty foliage, especially when the wind blows and you see the other underside and the stems. That one gets a yellow black-eyed Susan type flower. ligularia. And the white right behind there, I threw a lot of seed and only a little came up, but that's Culver's root. That's a native also. I'm growing it up in the perennial garden too. This is just my wild area. This is great blue lobelia, and you're going to see that a lot in the garden. It starts blooming probably in a week or so, and it's a blue, and it's native, and it reseeds a lot, especially if you don't deadhead it. So I deadhead it all, and even when I deadhead it, it drops seed. But I like the blue in the garden, and you'll see that later in another tour too. Masterwort, cute little shade perennial, nice shaped leaf. Masterwort comes in different colors. I just happen to get a light pink. I think it comes in a darker one, which I would have liked. Pretty foliage again is this Persicaria called Lance Corporal. I wanted to fill in this area here with the hostas. But it's a young plant. It's only, its second year there, I think. Here's the meadow rue going to flower. Tiny, dainty flowers. But the stem's pretty. Wow, my Astilbe didn't do so good up here this year. The red. Here it is right there, looking yucky. And then I think I have some that looks a little better here, but it's usually so full. I don't know what happened. Oh well, that's Mother Nature. Pretty phlox. I like the vibrant pink. It's called Starfire. Naughtia. Very aggressive, but I like that color too. Liatris. Hardy hens and chicks. Very hardy. I have a morning glory. Oh, guess what? The Japanese beetles also like. Oh, there's a spider right by the Japanese beetle here. Interesting, huh? I have a morning glory growing up this little lantern, and I know it would just engulf it, so I decided to put a big branch in here too, so it grows up the branch, which it will take over the branch also, so I will add another branch. But I can only poke it in the ground after a rain or after I water good, or it won't stay. Oh my gosh, more Japanese beetles. One of the latest blooming alliums gets to be a pink. Pretty in the garden too. It's not, it'll bloom fully in about a week. White balloon flower, just starting. butterfly weed, native. Bees and the butterflies love it. Can you see why I have no problem with pollination in my garden, my veggie garden? It helps to have a lot of flowers. Gloriosa daisies. Chives. It's been cut back once, I'll cut it back again. Freeze some of them. Mullein. I let that come up here and there too. Some more sea holly. Can you see how it attracts the beneficial insects? And then it attracts the bad guys too, like the Japanese beetles. And I'm the Japanese beetle's biggest predator. Heliopsis. Aggressive but pretty golden yellow right now. I'll cut it back quite a bit when the black-eyed Susans start blooming. And then the black-eyed Susans will be the gold. And then when they're done blooming, the Heliopsis will rebloom. So I'll bloom longer in the garden. I like this variegated sedum also. Pretty foliage. Even the seed heads on this sedum are pretty. It's brown. If I have time, I'll pull them off. But they still add a little color and texture. Pretty grass. Shenandoah switchgrass. As it matures, it gets more pink and red tips. Pretty in the morning. You know, the Gloriosa daisies, you don't know what's going to come up or what's going to bloom or how they're going to look. I save seed from the ones I like the best, but I still get solid gold also. So you just never know. They must cross-pollinate. And this is what I get sometimes, solid gold. But they're pretty. Remember the disaster area where the tree went down? Things are starting to fill in. I might get some bloom in September in them. Ornamental oregano, which will be real pretty real soon, but I take a lot of it out every year. Feverfew. I throw that seed around a lot too. And a grass called Little Zebra. It's the only one that survived, really. That and the Carl Forester, and then the native switchgrass. Other variegateds died out. I want to thank you for viewing my garden and coming along on this walk with me. It lasts long, but it's hard to go fast in a perennial garden. If you walked with me personally, you probably would be here for at least an hour and a half. Gardening friends stop over, and between the flower garden and the veggie garden, they're here for a couple hours. But that's what happens when you get with passionate gardeners. Aren't the flower heads pretty on this blackberry lily? They'll be opening soon, but they're so pretty how they're swirly. Milkweed. A wild crazy daylily. But I like it. It's like a triple. There's a name to it, but I can't remember it. But it's from those ditch daylilies. Bee balm was outstanding this year. Now this is the shadiest part, or just doesn't get as much sun during the day. It's on the west side, and there's a maple tree to the left, so it blooms later, but it gives me color here later. So that's kind of nice. And my new area. And some hydrangeas I put in there for a screen. And then we go over towards my veggie garden, and we're done for the Perennial tour. So take care, my friends. Thanks for visiting my channel and walking the garden with me. Happy gardening.